Well, groups, our first session of 2023 is coming to an end this week. So I hope that you've gotten a lot out of what we've talked about up to this point, both through our message series on Sundays and through our conversations in Connect groups. This is our last week of groups for this session, so we're coming up on a 3-week break. So here's what we want you to do in that 3-week break. That 3-week break includes Easter. And we say it all the time at Fusion, the Easter is like the Super Bowl for Christians. And so we really want you guys to make some solid plans to be with us Easter Sunday morning here in just 2 weeks, and bring somebody with you. We put a lot of effort and a lot of emphasis into Easter because we just feel like that's a great opportunity to invite somebody to church. So please, please, please bring somebody with you when you come to church on Easter Sunday. We think it's going to be a great time of worship, and we feel like that you're going to get a lot out of it, and they would as well. Now, for our last week in groups is also our opportunity to talk through 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Paul here in 1 Corinthians 10 he's referencing back. There's a lot of history in 1 Corinthians 10 because Paul's talking about a lot of the things that happened to the nation of Israel that's recorded for us in the Old Testament. Now, his readers would have had really intimate knowledge of all that stuff. That would have been really familiar context for them. So as you're reading through, if a lot of the details don't make a lot of sense, just know that it's in the Old Testament. You can go and find it. If you have a study Bible of any kind, there are probably references there of all the chapters in Exodus and beyond that reference the things that Paul is talking about. But here's the big idea that he's getting at in chapter 10 is, hey, look, Israel, the nation of Israel, in the Old Testament, they made a lot of mistakes, turned their back on God time and time and time again, because it's easy to be tempted by the things of the world in place of the things of God. And he's saying, hey, why don't we let them pay the dumb tax? Right? They made the mistakes. They got punished for it. And we have their history recorded for us so that we don't repeat the same mistakes. But Paul says, I do understand there's a lot of temptation out there. And then he goes on to tell us in verse 13, he says, there's no temptation that's going to find its way into your life that God isn't also going to give you a way to get out of. And that's really encouraging for me, and I hope that it's encouraging for you as well. And then he kind of turns his attention to a different topic right at the end of the chapter, where he's talking about these idols that these idol gods again that aren't real. We talked about that a couple of chapters ago in chapter 8 and before. But he's also saying be careful, because there are demonic presences. There is a demonic presence in our world. And what better place for a demon, for these demonic satanic forces to leverage their influence into, what better place for them to leverage those things than the places where there's already disobedience and a misunderstanding or a belief in some other god or idol or demonic thing. And here's what I think that means for us in our modern context. That we should stay away from anything that even remotely hints at something that's part of the like satanic or the occult or witchcraft or anything demon or dark. What Paul is saying is, man, if there was ever a place that a demon wanted to make something seem more real than it is, why not start with the place that's already a little dark and demonic already to give validity to those things? So I believe that demons do work in and through the practices of like witchcraft and the occult, because it gives validity to witchcraft and the occult. What better place for them to leverage their influence? Paul's saying, man, look, as followers of Christ, we can't toy around with dark and demonic things and try to enjoy and celebrate the things of God, because light and darkness, they don't have any fellowship together. We shouldn't be trying to participate in both. So be careful with those things. If that's of any interest to you at all, be careful with how much emphasis and influence you give to those things. And here's where I'll kind of turn our attention to, our focus to, for some conversation is, Paul starts this whole conversation in chapter 10 about temptation. And I'd ask, and you guys have been together for 9 weeks before now, would you maybe be vulnerable enough to share with your group some areas in your life where you feel most tempted? Maybe it's sexual immorality, maybe it's money, maybe it's pride, maybe it's gossip. I don't know. But would you be vulnerable enough, open enough with your group to share the areas where you study, where you struggle? And so as we continue to study through Scripture together, we can find ways to help one another. Help doesn't come until there's honesty and vulnerability. So spend some time together in your group right now, if you're comfortable, as much as you're able to share, revealing to the rest of your group the areas where you struggle. And I hope that you'll have some good and meaningful conversation, and you'll find some help and some accountability within the relationships in your group. We'll see you guys Sunday as we kick off our brand new series, Curveball. It's our Easter series, all about the parables of Jesus. We'll see you guys Sunday morning.